Tabletop role-playing sees many a thing unfold with the random roll of the dice, but today I want to know some specifics from you. GameMasters here, and I've spent this year offering up my views of various tabletop elements, as well as opinions on some of the key companies that make the role-playing games that we enjoy. Today, I want to ask you, the folks that play the games and watch the videos, some questions. I'm going to go a little fast in asking, so don't feel compelled to answer every question, but should one strike you as, oh, I've got a great answer for that one, please feel free to pause the video and comment below. For the game masters or dungeon masters, storytellers, whatever your referee term of choice is, how do you generally begin crafting a new campaign or adventure? What inspires your storytelling and world building? How do you balance player agency with the narrative that you have structured for the players? How do you create and develop your character for a new campaign? Once you have that character created, what aspect or element of it do you enjoy most about role-playing it? Do you go into that campaign with a preconceived notion of that character's growth, or do you just let the chips kind of fall where they may? Back to the DMs. What do you find to be the most challenging aspect of running a game? Likewise for players. What is generally the most difficult part of being a player in a game? DMs. How do you handle unexpected player actions or deviations from the planned storyline? How improvisational do sometimes you have to get to maintain that balance? Bonus points if you can share the most memorable off-the-rails deviation. Players, how do you communicate to the GM or DM about your character's goals or storylines? How would you prefer your GM to communicate back with you? How do you deal with setbacks? Situations where your character has failed a die roll or has faced a major infliction or possibly even the death of your character. How do you handle that? GMs, how do you encourage your players to become immersed and engaged in your game world? Players, regarding player agency, how do you develop your character's arcs while moving through the world that your DM has built? Share an instance with us where a specific development of your character has dramatically impacted the narrative of the game itself. Before I jump into a section on questions that is specifically for GMs, and then another that is also specific to players, I first want to ask this question of everyone. How awesome are these channel supporters? I want you all to give them a mighty thumbs up in support. They have made it so that I don't have to take on a sponsored ad for this video. And if you'd like to show support to the channel, I'll leave a link down in the description as to how you can become a YouTube or Patreon member. And of course, I'll add your name to this ever-growing list. Okay, now for the questions that are just for the Game Masters. How do you maintain a balance between challenge and enjoyment for your players? How do you maintain a balance of fun for you running the game versus the enjoyment of the players playing the game? How do you handle player choices that might lead to unexpected consequences for their character? What criteria do you give your NPCs to make them compelling or memorable? What elements do you give your big bad evil guy to make them compelling or memorable? How do you manage pacing and engagement for all of the people at your table, all the players at your table? For example, how do you include the rogue when in a situation that is mage heavy? How do you plan the final climax of the story, especially one that's been in a long-running campaign? And how do you determine the rewards and loot that the players will find? Do you use random tables, or do you have a preset idea of what it is that they're going to ultimately find? And players, this group of questions is just for you. How do you adapt your role-playing style to fit the dynamic of the rest of the group? Or do you kind of make them adapt to you? Do you prefer to create an elaborate backstory for your character, or do you prefer to fill it in as you adventure? What's the most amount of experience that you've gained in one session, and how much more powerful did it make your character? What's been the most emotionally impactful experience that you've had while playing a character? Have you jumped out of the seat of playing and moved into the seat of being a dungeon master? Can you name a time where your character faced a significant challenge to their belief or alignment that ultimately ended in a shift to that belief or alignment? How do you deepen the connections between your character and other player characters? I also want to ask some group questions, questions that could apply to both players as well as to GMs or DMs, storytellers, whatever you want to call yourself. What is your most cherished memory that you've made while playing tabletop role-playing games? How have playing TTRPGs influenced your own personal growth, your real-life decision-making? What initially drew you to tabletop role-playing, either as a DM or as a player? What specific element about TTRPGs do you find most enjoyable and captivating? How different is your view of role-playing from, say, when you first started playing long ago to today? Or if it was just last week to today? Let me know. I could easily keep going, but I've just thrown a good solid 30 plus questions at you, and I want you all to know that I'll be reading every comment down below. So to that end, I'm going to cut myself off with just these that we've just asked. If you have some questions for me, don't be shy. Ask them down below in the comments. I look forward to reading what you guys come up with, and until next our paths cross, may we both learn something about each other.